Do you have any idols in your life? I think I might know what the biggest one is. And I'm not so sure if it's exactly what you think it is. And just to clarify, by idols, I of course do not mean American idols, but the biblical use of the word idols as in false gods or false idols. Hi, it's Bo here. Idols is a big part of the faith. In the Bible, we read that Israel has different false gods. There's Baal and there's Mammon, and there's a whole list of idols and false gods. And of course we have idols today as well. And we're living in the time of social media. And our outer appearances, our sexuality, our body, everything that can be projected towards other people has become idols. It is controlling us. It is dictating how we think about ourselves and other people. And it's really a big part of the culture. And it also easily turns into an idol, even for the most Jesus-loving disciple. But I don't think that is the biggest idol. Another possibility could be materialism. Is materialism the biggest idol of our time? And with materialism, the goal is suddenly not to worship and serve God, but to bow down and serve the need to get more things, bigger things, better things, anything that is greater than what your neighbor has, or just for the sake of it. But I don't think that materialism is the biggest idol of our time either. I think that the greatest idol of our time that we are struggling and fighting with right now, and that is misleading so many of us, myself included, the name of that idol is performance culture. I think performance culture has an immense impact on our culture and also in the church and our Christian life. I think it has seeped through into the deepest cracks of our existence, of how we perceive ourselves and other people, even how we perceive our relationship with God. There's been a shift in the school where, if you go back in time, teachers usually struggle with getting the kids to raise their hands during class. Whilst today, it's the opposite. Teachers are struggling with everyone raising their hands, but they do it no matter if they know the answer or not to the question that the teacher was asking. Because they live in a world now where everything is performance. They are comparing with everyone else. And if they're the only child who doesn't raise their hand, well, that means that they don't know, or they are performing worse than the rest of the class. And it doesn't even matter if they know the answer, they just raise their hands to not be perceived as unknowing or even stupid. And that is the burden of comparing with other people. It becomes a performance culture. But okay, what makes performance culture into an idol then? I mean, it's kind of a big and abstract term. It's not like money or sex or drugs or the classic ones. What makes performance culture as a whole into one singular idol? I think there are several factors. First of all, we are devoted to the goal of always trying to perform and outperform in this world. Secondly, we worship those who succeed, but we also pity those who fail. And like all idols, the biggest connection it has to us is via our ego. All idols are ego-driven creations of our longings and needs to fill out the holes within us and to puff ourselves up to look like more than we actually are. And like all idols, this idol also ensnares and captivates us. And this raises a great question for me. Why does God want us to worship Him instead of the idols? Performance tells us that we always have to put effort into something. We always have to be perceived in a certain way. We always have to struggle and fight to get what we want, but sadly also to even have value. Grace, on the other hand, tells us that we need to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. We have so much value, an immense amount of value, just by doing absolutely nothing. We do not need to climb the ladder to be worthy of love or worthy of attention or to have value. With grace, our value never equals to what we do, but it equals down to who we are and that we are created by God and that we are dependent on His grace, which is free, instead of being dependent on performance, which is just a misleading snare, which only leads us into thinking less and less and less about ourselves. because we continue to compare ourselves and our value with other people. What a horrific and tragical idol that is. But in the grace of God, we can let go of comparing. God loves us equally much, unendingly much, infinitely much. We can't move that or shake that by trying to become better than our neighbor or better than our sister or better than anyone. The curse of sin is really hurting all of us, and it is leading us to follow false gods and idols. But in this hurting, Jesus will be the medicine. He will treat us with his mercy and with his love and with his care. And in that we will experience how opposite the grace of Jesus is compared to the performance culture. And we will find freedom in grace. And we will find freedom from worshipping the greatest idol of our time, performance culture. And we will get freedom to worship the one true God. But it is kind of counterintuitive because we live in this world, we experience this culture. And all of us are burdened with the consequences of sin, with following false gods and idols. But the love of God is counterintuitive, because that is not an idol, that is not a false god, that is something that is true. And it has zero cost for us, besides just saying yes. May God bless your journey.